Hi folks, this is Rob with another in the series of videos to help new and inexperienced uh, gun purchasers uh, pick the right gun, get the gun that they want to suit their needs. So today we're going to continue our discussion of picking the right gun for home defense, and let's say that you've decided that you want to pick a handgun. That's great. Remember, first rule of gunfight, got to have a gun. Second rule of gunfight, you have to have a gun you can handle. So when you're picking a handgun, first thing I would tell you is if you have the opportunity to try out various sizes and calibers on a range, whether it's a range that's run by the gun store that you're going to buy the gun at, or whether you go out to the range with some friends, try the various guns that they have. Take a look at whether you can handle certain sized handguns, particularly when dealing with the size of the gun and the caliber of the ammunition. So you have to have a gun that you can use. So now we've decided we're going to buy a handgun. Some things you might want to look at is you might want to look at purchasing a used handgun. There are a lot of great used handguns out there. One place I would recommend you take a look at is your police departments. Oftentimes the police departments will sell off their old stock when they're buying new guns or re-equipping the force with new guns. Those guns are usually great guns. The old police guns are usually great guns for two reasons. Number one is they've been used, taken care of by people who know how to use those guns. And second of all, they have tremendous armorers in most police departments that keep those guns up and running to 100% capacity. So if you have the opportunity to pick up or purchase a used handgun, take a look at police departments, because a lot of times you can get a real good deal there. Now, in terms of getting a good deal, don't ever let somebody try and sell you more gun than you can afford. Okay? And, you hear this line all the time. Well, what's your life worth? Well, I never look down my nose, and I know most responsible firearms owners don't look down their nose at somebody who can't afford to have the number one, top of the line, custom made handgun. If you're buying a gun strictly for home defense and that's what you want it for, trust me, you don't have to go out there and spend an inordinate amount of money. Now, by the same token, you don't want to go out and buy some Saturday night special that hasn't been checked out by an armorer, and you have no idea whether it's going to work or not. So, you can go to one extreme or the other, either, really, really super inexpensive or super expensive. But at the end of the day, if it's not a gun that you can use and that you feel comfortable with, it's not going to do you as much good for home defense as it otherwise might. So keep that in mind. Pick a gun that you can handle. Now, a lot of people say, well, should I buy a semi-automatic, and that's a handgun that's fed from a magazine, or should I buy a revolver, which is a gun that fires from a rotating cylinder? Well, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. Typically, your semi-automatic handguns carry more ammunition. They're typically more modern. A lot of times, if you buy the new ones with the polymer frames, they're a lot more lightweight than a revolver. A revolver, on the other hand, limited ammunition. Typically 6 shots in the cylinder. But revolvers don't jam. A wheel gun won't jam on you, and a semi-automatic has a better chance of jamming on you than a revolver would. No, that's not to say semi-automatics are prone to jamming. That's not true. But of the two, if you had to pick which one would jam first, it'd be the semi-automatic, I would say, over the revolver. But at the end of the day, it's kind of your choice. Again, they both have advantages and disadvantages. One thing to keep in mind is the type of ammunition that you want to shoot out of those two kinds of pistols. What I recommend, if you're buying a handgun strictly for home defense and not for concealed carry, you want to get a full-size handgun, because that gives you a better grip area with which to grip the gun, and typically the longer barrels on the full-size handguns allow the manufacturer to place the sights at a greater sight radius, and that improves your accuracy. It doesn't have anything to do with the barrel length. It has everything to do with the distance between the front sight post and the rear aperture or the rear blade. So at the end of the day, a full-size handgun is probably best for that reason. It gives you a better grip. And also, full-size handguns, they carry the most ammunition of whatever the form factor is. Because the grip is longer in a semi-automatic, you can put a larger magazine in it. Or because the cylinder is larger, in a revolver, so you can put more ammunition in that. But at the end of the day, full size handgun, whether semi-automatic or revolver for home defense, is the way to go. Last couple things I'd tell you to consider is, number one, where are you going to store it? If you have kids in the house, you obviously want to store it someplace where it is readily accessible, but at the same time is not accessible to those children. One thing about a handgun is makes it fairly easy to store. You can buy for a couple $100, you can pick up a gun safe, that is quickly accessible in time of need, but at the same time provides great security against those young fingers that you don't want on the trigger. Another thing to consider is what kind of ammunition do you want to use, not just the caliber, but also the type. My recommendation for home defense is invest in some personal protection ammunition. Just about every major manufacturer out there has a version of it. Typically it's hollow points with a little bit of a lighter load. Sometimes you can even buy what are called frangible bullets, which means they completely break apart upon impact with something harder than they are. Those are good for home defense. What you don't want to use is fully jacketed bullets in your cartridges for home defense, because a fully jacketed bullet is just going to, even if you hit the intended target, it's going to keep going through them and right into one of your walls, and could go into another room and hit an unintended target. So you don't want to do that. Last thing I tell you is, whatever gun you buy, whatever handgun you buy for home defense, practice for a couple of reasons. One is, when you get into tense situations, the first thing that goes is your fine motor skills. You want to have those developed. You want to have that muscle memory. The second reason is because you are discharging a firearm in your home, you want to make sure that that bullet goes exactly where you intend it to go and nowhere else. And the only way, the absolute only way that that happens is by practice. So buy a handgun that you can afford, buy one that you can use effectively, buy one that you can train with, and then when trouble comes knocking late at night or sometime during the day when it's not expected, you'll be ready. So this is Rob saying, be safe, shoot straight, and have a great day.